Good afternoon, guys.
Hey guys, how y'all doing today?
Jason and Ricardo, and we're here. What's today? Wednesday?
Today's Wednesday. It's
I'm a little lost because my days are just all kind of rolling together, but it's going along. It's moving along. We got a lot of things going on here in the shop. One thing we've kind of been talking about lately has been setting up a car, and we've been talking internally here, behind the scenes of setting up the car because, as you guys know, we got the 5th Gen here. And we've been trying to decide what we're going to do with it, where we're going to go. So some of the first things, both of us kind of being techs, our backgrounds being techs, we kind of know where the weak points are on these cars, and so we kind of know where to set things up. Now we know the end goal is obviously to make this car, obviously streamline it, and hey, we're going to hit the drag strip with it, and we're going to have a little bit of fun going down that straight line, right? So we know eventually we are going to do cam, and as you guys can see, we have the whole complete nitrous setup. I got a whole bunch more parts sitting back there for the nitrous setup. But one of the things that we driving the car here lately, it's kind of been feeling like it's a little sluggish, and we've kind of been looking at it and looking into it and trying to figure stuff out. And we decided why not start with the clutch? Okay, you can kind of feel it, and I don't know if Jason's noticed it when he's driven it. I've kind of noticed a little bit. It kind of tends to kind of slip a little bit.
It does. So when we picked the car up, I think it's one of the first things we noticed about it is that the transmission wasn't engaging as properly as we like, and then the second thing was the clutch is slipping.
There's not a whole lot more to say other than it's just slipping.
72,000 mile car when we picked it up.
It
was really great condition, but that's one of the first things that we noticed with it. Well, let's go ahead and let's change the clutch now so we can get along with our build.
Right, exactly. The build that we have kind of going along as part of our build list, which you guys can also build yourself as well on the website. We kind of have our list kind of going through it, and yes, don't get me wrong, we added all the power stuff. Yeah, we want to make some good power. We want to kind of go down the line, and yeah, we want to get there quick, right? But we also know, like I said earlier, being techs, we know the weak points on the car, and we know kind of where we should hit first before adding the power and not thinking about the parts that we need to help support those mods. The clutch being one of them, and for you automatic guys being the torque converter. So the clutches on these manual cars, they're good, okay, they're good. But there is a weak point, and there is a point where they are going to be worthless.
Well, it depends, and also look if this car was used when we picked it up. So we're actually, if you look it up, we're like the 4th owner of this Camaro. So we don't know who abused it before we got it. But like I said, when we did pick it up, first thing we noticed is clutch is a little weak. We need to replace the clutch, and we chose to go with the Stage 3 clutch.
Right.
From spec.
From spec.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've gotten the question, why spec? Why did we go? I didn't go with another brand. Why didn't we go here or there? Well, we chose spec because they've been around a long time. They're the quality, their service, everything about it. And we're going to show you guys here in a minute their quality, actually what it looks like once it's installed on the car. Since we already have the clutch in place, that's why I don't have it here on the table. Since I already have it in place, we're going to go ahead and show you what it looks like. But the quality, the fitment, everything about their stuff is really top notch, and it really kind of all lines up together perfectly. This clutch that's going together, you would think a clutch. Typically, you talk to guys and they talk about installing a clutch, and they're like, "Oh, I don't want to. That's too much for me." It's really not that difficult once you kind of get everything down to it. Just like a lot of big parts that you got to move out of the way to get to where you need to go. Once you put it on, you get everything lined up perfectly. Should go together, no problem. But like I said, we're going to show you guys here in a second all that stuff. So that's why we chose spec and their brand to really kind of go along with our build and help us out and go from there. So that way we kind of partnered with them on that.
Exactly.
So
the other thing too about the spec Stage 3 clutch is it handles, for what we're doing to the car, we really don't need a big twin disc. And it also meets the kind of price point that we wanted to have in our build at the same time. So even though we are doing a build, we're like a lot of the other guys too, we're looking at the parts that we're going to add as we go down the line. So the spec, let's knock it out first. It handles a good amount of torque that we're going to be putting to the car, and it's not total overkill. So and for a daily driver, for the most part, once it's broken, it's going to operate and drive very nicely. So yeah,
because like you said, it's not something that's twin disc. But the one we went with does handle, I think it was 800.
They say 800, about 890 foot-pounds of torque. This car basically is going to be it's going to be cam car. We'll have nitrous first, then we'll do a cam, as you can see here. Then maybe eventually down the line we'll add heads. We haven't put that on the build list as of now, but it'll be able to handle all of that. Okay, so
probably I would say probably the end goal probably by the time we get the nitrous and get the cam and everything kind of put on. End goal is probably going to be around 600 with the nitrous, 650s.
Yeah, I would say we'll probably be around 600 to the tires on the nitrous.
Yeah, depending on how big of a shot we go. I know we're going to start off with a 100 shot and obviously go from there with everything supporting mods. Maybe toss in an E85 kit from DSX or something like that.
Exactly.
To help kind of support, getting to that 625, 650 number. Obviously with the plug change and all that stuff from there, and who knows, we're going to really kind of open it up and see what we can do. But let's go ahead and get you guys over here and show you guys some of the spec clutch and see how it's kind of set up. I got the transmission, I got all my tools and everything kind of sitting back over there, so excuse the dirtiness, but we are in the middle of swapping that out. So getting over here.
If you have any questions, guys, just real quick, you throw them. Just go ahead and mention them. I have them pulled up here, so we can go over those as well.
Yeah, he's got you guys pulled up. So coming over here, obviously, as you guys can kind of tell, everything kind of looks torn apart. Everything looks like it's missing some stuff. So obviously, you got your exhaust missing. You got your drive shaft missing. You got a bunch of little heat shields. Actually, there's 1 or 2 heat shields that are kind of missing out of the way. And then obviously the transmission. The transmission takes up this big old spot right here. Mounts right actually to this center, and shifter, you reach up to the inside. I got my hand in there. But this is the spec stage 3 clutch. We got our transmission lines, a wiring harness all tucked back so you guys can see. So this is the spec stage 3 clutch. As you guys can see, it's already kind of installed. I got the flywheel in place. I got the clutch back here. Hopefully you guys can see it a little bit. And obviously we got our alignment tool in place as well. But one thing I want to kind of mention, you see it all set up and everything, and this is where I guess plays a main part in the transmission install, is making sure that this tool can come in and out very easily. If it can come out in and out easily, that means your transmission is going to go back together pretty easy as well. Because you have all the teeth, you got the lined up with the pilot bearing, everything's all lined up, ready to go from there. But you guys can see the quality of the spec clutch. It's a nice piece. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's a nice solid piece. The clutch is on the inside, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, what material was
I think on the stage 3, I think it's a Kevlar.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's Kevlar material. We have it to a steel flywheel. Now on these clutches, you do have the option of the steel or aluminum flywheel. What's the difference, and which one should I go with? It's probably what you're asking yourself. We went with the steel flywheel. Why? Because we knew the rotating mass that we're going to be putting through this, we wanted a little bit heavier flywheel to account for everything that that plays a factor into all that. Aluminum, you want to go with aluminum if you plan on high revving these motors. Now, when I say high revving these motors, you're probably redlining that's $7 grand, $7 grand, somewhere around there. That's when you really kind of want an aluminum flywheel is going to play a big factor in that. Steel flywheel, for you guys that are drag racing, you're not going up that high, then hey, you're perfectly fine.
Well, the other thing too is we're using this as basically like an everyday build that you would drive on the street. The other thing too is we're still going to run stock pistons and rods. Stock rotational mass is all going to be the same. So at that point, we're adding more weight. We're using the steel flywheel because it's a daily drive for the most part. And at the same time, like if we're going to be getting on it too, if we're not on a road course or something like that where we're constantly in and out of the RPMs, the steel flywheel allows it the rotational mass to hit the back tires harder. So
yeah. Also, the cool thing about a steel flywheel, for some of you guys that might do a lot of heavy racing, but you still want to drive it, and you go to the track every weekend. The steel flywheel, if you start to get a little bit of chatter, something might be going on, you pull the flywheel off and you see it's got a lot of hot spots. Steel flywheel, you kind of just machine a little bit so that way you can smooth it back out, and then there you go back together. Aluminum, not so much, unfortunately. But that's another key point that goes into it. But we have that spec, the stage 3, ready to go back together. Love the transmission off to the side, so that way you guys can see exactly, what's going on. So this is what the transmission looks like. It looks like that one big piece that's sitting there. And you might be asking yourself, is there anything else I need to go along with to change the transmission? And I haven't really cleaned the transmission yet. Trust me, I'm going to power wash it.
Yeah, so when we did pull this apart, we did have a rear main seal leak.
Yes.
So that's the other thing too, is when you pull it apart, one of the things you might want to look at, especially the high mileage Camaro, is maybe purchasing a rear main seal. Now we purchased the rear main seal, we had the rear main seal for this build before we took the transmission out, just so in case we knew we were going to run into that issue. Yeah. So the other thing too is we're changing out, the slave cylinder at the same time. This is a high mileage car. We figured at this time it's a good opportunity for us to go ahead and change out the slave cylinder as well. It's a product you can also find on our website.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And like you said, guys, the rear main seal, and you can kind of tell, once you kind of get under the car, you can kind of tell if you're having a rear main seal leak. right here off to the side here, it's got these vents. That vent, if oil is kind of coming out of there, most likely it's either a rear main seal or the oil pan. That's going to be the two main points that these LS3 cars or L99 cars tend to leak. Those are going to be the two main points. And like you said about that slave cylinder, we are going to swap it out. Obviously, it's right here. Haven't done it yet. Going to pressure wash everything, make sure we get it nice and clean. But that slave cylinder, it's one of those things that's kind of cheap insurance, Jason. I kind of like to refer to it.
You don't want to have to take it back apart and pay the labor rate or do it yourself and try and drop it in your driveway. It's much easier just to change it right up front.
And you know, it's a fairly cheap part. It's not, you know, something that's crazy expensive. It's not, you know, hundreds of dollars, you know, but it's something that, you know, you're here, you might as well put it on kind of thing.
Exactly.
You know, that's
same thing with the rear main seal.
Same thing with the rear main seal, and it's exactly what we did. Obviously, you can't see the new one in place once you put the flywheel on and stuff on, but you can definitely tell the difference, you know, with the transmission off and seeing that.
Now, the other thing you can't see as well is the pilot bearing in the back of the crankshaft. We did change that out as well. 72,000 miles on the car. Why not change that out at the same time? That is the old one. So they've already put the new one in, and so that's something as well you want to be able to swap out. Now, this clutch kit came with that from spec.
Yes.
So the clutch kit for here that came with the flywheel, it came we came with the clutch.
The clutch alignment tool, the pilot bearing, the flywheel, the disc itself, and then the pressure plate. You know, those are all kind of the components that you get typically with the clutch from spec. You know, they've updated stuff, and they've kind of started to include, you know, all the little tools and here and there. You know, they listened and they paid attention. So it's really good to see that they're including that, because it is part of the build. It's one of those things that you're there, you might as well replace it now.
Exactly.
You know, same thing with the slave cylinder or the rear main seal if you have a higher mileage car.
Yep.
You know, and obviously we're gonna do a little bit of maintenance to the transmission. We're gonna change out the fluid in it, make sure everything's good. You know, I know we're going to do a shifter at one point, so I don't know if it's going to go back together right now. Probably not, because I want to do a video for you guys to where I show you from start to finish on how to put the shifter in case you already got the clutch, in case you already got everything and you need the shifter. So we're going to show you how to do that as well.
Exactly.
But definitely we're going to go back together with the car now that we have that all put together and everything in place, basically, and really kind of go from there. But kind of moving along with our build list, you know, that's one thing I really kind of want to point out to you guys is really kind of go to the website, create that build list. I did it for this car. Okay, I got one for this car. You know, I got headers in there. I got sway bars. I got cam. I got nitrous. I got suspension. I got all kinds of things lined up for this car. The tune, everything kind of goes along with it. The tune is a little different because we're going to go with trifecta as far as when we go with the nitrous and the bolt-ons and stuff like that. When we get into the cam, we might call trifecta in and see if they can dial something in a little more perfect for that cam. But that's something that's going to play along, you know, in the long run.
It'll allow us to offer you a cam package with a tune right out the door for you guys. The other thing too is one of the things I think we decided on the build list is with the nitrous kits, we're going to run the LNC 4 from Lingenfelter, which is going to retard our timing. So that way we'll be able to run on motor, and then we'll also be able to run on nitrous and have that kick in and retard the timing for us.
That's right. So we're running a 100 shot, and some of you guys, when we did the 100 shot on the 6th gen, we were kind of called crazy, you know, in a way. But we ran the 100 shot, and we knew exactly where we were going to set it up. And although we didn't have the Lingenfelter box on that car, we are going to put it on this one since it's already been tested and developed, and everyone knows how it kind of works. So we're going to put it on this car just so that way we can, you know, see how the car acts, and if we need to really dial in the tune perfectly, or if that box can kind of help us out a little bit, so that way we dial the nitrous in perfectly. So it's really one of those things that we're gonna figure out.
No, a couple of things that we're going to do with it as well is Autometer has some really cool bow tie gauges. You can find those on the website as well. We're going to do the pillar pod from Autometer, and we'll do the I think we're doing a fuel pressure.
We're doing fuel pressure and a nitrous pressure. And
a nitrous pressure. So that way we know where our bottle is at all times.
Right. We know where our bottle is at all times, and I know we'll have two pressure gauges. So we'll have two pressure gauges as far as our nitrous is concerned. One that will be on the A-pillar like we talked about. Right. And the other one is going to actually be right here on the tank. So we can always reference, you know, if we're at the track, hey, how much pressure we got in the tank? You know, pop the trunk open, take a look in case the car's not on or running or anything like that because of the gauge. So it's something that we're going to kind of dual purpose on that one.
Yeah, the other thing too is on the nitrous, we chose a 10-pound bottle just because we wanted to be able to still use the trunk. You can get the 15-pound bottle option as well. And there are a couple different positions you can put that in, and when we put the 10-pound bottle in, we'll show you how we're going to mount that bottle in there as well.
Yeah, definitely. I know Nitrous Outlet, they gave us a real nice plate and everything that kind of goes along with it. So it's something that's really dialed in. They really kind of paid attention to what they're setting these things up with. So it's something that you guys have the ability to purchase as well. Obviously off the website with all these little extra add-ons. There's the plate system. There's the bottle brackets, the bottle heater. There's the purge. There's a whole bunch of stuff. And in case some of you guys don't know what the purge is, well, purge is the fun part of the nitrous system. I like to think. That's the part where the bottle really kind of goes to waste. is on the purge, because the purge is where you kind of get that wow factor. Depending on where you set it up, whether it's off the hood vent or out the front of the car. Some of you guys might know if you've been following us long enough. That we did it on the 610, we did it right out the bow tie. So it really kind of depends on where you set it up. But that purge is the fun part of it. That's where you get the nice cloud and the nice, I call it smoke. But you
can threaten people with it. They'll think you have nitrous.
Right. Gotta scare them a little bit. Ooh, But we have all that stuff that we're going to show you guys as we go along through all this, and hopefully you guys get some great information. Y'all add these to your build list and really kind of go from there. Depending on where you want to go, nitrous is not that scary. It's not as scary as everybody thinks.
Well, the thing is too is we're also with nitrous is we're running their controller with it as well. Yeah. So that's going to allow us to keep it on the safe side. We're not going to start too low. We're not going to go too high. So we feel 100% confident with the fact that nitrous is not a threat or it's even a problem that most people would think, because the simple fact is electronics keep it safe.
That's right. Like the old school nitrous systems, always used to be the button. You hit the button, however long you held that button, that solenoid's going to be open, and obviously you're going to be spraying nitrous at the same time. Well, if you forget the shift and you're still holding that button, things happen. But that's where the controllers come in, is that you set it to a certain RPM. As long as you're tacked into your RPM signal, then you're basically set. It's going to cut you on and cut you off. So that way it knows exactly when to engage your nitrous when you want it.
Exactly. We'll make sure we're flowing enough air, and we'll tell you guys about that as well when we get farther into the nitrous build, about some of the recommendations that we recommend you to where to set your RPM levels at. Definitely. So that way you feel 100% comfortable with it.
Definitely. So as you guys can kind of tell as we're going through our build list where we're kind of doing, we're kind of setting up the car to be ready for the track. We kind of mentioned it earlier, and then we want to go in a straight line. We kind of want to drag race the car. That does mean, hey, we got to get a good set of tires. So we got
wheels. We're doing wheels and tires.
We got wheels and tires. So we got Welds on the list, and we got Mickey Thompsons on the list. Yep. And the Mickey Thompsons that we might go with are going to be the ET Streets. I think it was the ET Street R. I want to say.
Yeah, we really haven't pulled the complete trigger on that. Like, if we're going to keep it on the street, we'll go with it's definitely going to be ET tire. Yeah. We're not on it for the track use. We're not be doing the sport comp, but like we have on the 6 Gen Camaro, this will basically be the ET Street. A couple of things that he didn't mention as well that I guarantee are on his build list are going to be axles. That's going to be something we'll do.
Yeah. Drive shaft, axles.
Did you put a gear on there?
I did put the 391 gear.
Okay, we might go higher than the 391.
Yeah, that's what we're.
The thing is, we have the capabilities of changing out the gear ourselves.
Yeah.
So if we start with the 391 and we feel we need to step it up to 433 or something different like that, then we have the capabilities of swapping that out too.
Right. Like I said, I did put the 391 on there, but I know it could change. I know that's depending on where we're at in the build and where we're at on as far as the car and where everything's set up, and maybe what we have in there might work. Who knows? I know we got a little bit of whine in like fourth gear, but we are going to be changing it out.
We will be changing it out.
But we'll see where we're at. When we go with the 391s, I want to say we're going with the 391s because I think it's a decent gear for. I know
it's a nice gear. The 391 works great, especially like the guys with the automatic cars. Now this is obviously a manual car. But with the gearing and the transmission, we'll probably start with the 391. If we don't, then like I said, we're going to step it up to a much shorter gear, something like a 433, or something like that, where we know we're going to get a lot of bite, because we're not doing top speed runs for the most part. Like, we're putting a street car on the track is what we're doing.
Right, exactly. We want to kind of set something up where we think you guys would kind of go with the car. Not something super extravagant that's going to be crazy and pro charger Whipple or anything like that, not right off the bat. Obviously that might be the long-term goal, but right now we want to start kind of something simple. So obviously we know the car from factory they ran what 13.5, 13.3, something like that.
I remember back in the day when we first took it down the track, they were like they ranged anywhere from a 13.3 to 13.7. So
we'll hit 13.5 right in the middle. So we know I'd like to see 11s.
Definitely 11s or 10s is what I'm looking for.
I mean,
so
high 10, low
yeah.
11. That's where I would like to be personally. Where Jason likes to be, he probably want to be in the 9s.
Love to be in the 9s. I love to be at that point. Then we have to really sacrifice the fact that is what are we going to do? What kind of power adders are we going to really add to it?
Exactly.
So
with Cam Nitrous car, it's 11s, high 10s is really going to be where you're going to be. Now, it obviously goes into if you got everything set up in suspension. So yes, don't get me wrong, control arms, trailing arms, tow arms, bushings, all that stuff is going to be gone through and changed out for this car, so that way we know exactly what we're going to do and we know the weak points.
Exactly.
Like you mentioned, axles and drive shaft. Those are some of the weak points. Those axles are probably going to be, you make a good hit in these cars with a set of skinnies and skinnies, then that axle might just...
Well, the other thing too is like when we get into the rear end build, we'll most likely change the carrier out as well. So it's things like that. Whatever we can kind of help do is bulletproof it as we go down the line there. And so that way you guys feel 100% comfortable that, hey, look, if Phastek can do it, we know it's good products for us.
Yeah. We're going to show you kind of basically exactly how to do it, what steps we went through to take care of it. Because like I said, being techs backgrounds that we have, we know the weak points. We know they are.
Mm-hmm.
We've been working on these cars since 2009.
Yeah.
We've kind of come out. So we've had a good amount of response and education on them, which really kind of worked out.
Fantastic.
But yeah, I think that's about it.
I think we've covered a lot of it right there.
That's what we've got going on. That's what's going on with the build list. One more thing, but before we go, we will see you guys out there. I don't know how many of you guys, but I want to see all of you out there, really. But Camaro Con is going on this weekend. If any of you guys don't know about it, Camaro Con, so check it out, look it up. I want to say they might drop a link in the comments. So go ahead and check it out, Camaro Con this weekend. I think we fly out tomorrow. We fly out tomorrow.
We get set up on Friday. So if you have nothing going on this weekend and you want to be in the Vegas area, head over to Camaro Con. It's going to be a great event. It's going to be the first time they've done it one other track. It should be a really good turnout. So we hope to see you guys there.
Definitely, it's gonna be a fun event. They got drag racing, they got autocross, they got show and shine.
It's just gonna be a great hangout.
Oh yeah, all Camaros, Camaros, and they range. I know we do 5th gen and 6th gen, but they range from anything and everything Camaro.
Exactly.
Okay, so anybody that's out there, come on out there and let's talk Camaro. I mean, that's really what it kind of comes down to. But before we go, I know I see him kind of scrolling there.
I just want to say hi to guys. Alton, hey man, Ginger, thank you guys. Anthony for hanging out with us today. Victor, Brian. I want to thank all you guys. Joseph, Marco. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. If you liked what we said, drop some stuff in the comments. Hopefully we can see you, if not next week, the following week, and we can do this again.
We'll see how it goes, man. And like I said, in case you guys have any questions or comments, go ahead and drop them in. We'll answer them as best we can. Shoot us messages. Phone lines are always active, emails are always active, so these guys are always, there's 3 guys in there answering phones, so you guys can call and get the same information from them as you can from us. So it's really not, we tell them everything we know. So go ahead and however you feel.
Yep, great. Thanks guys, thanks for hanging out with us today. See ya.